Yo, what's up guys, back again with another video. In this video, I'm going to be going over privacy and safety in GPTs, figuring out how user data is handled, and more. Just to real quick go over with you guys, basically GPTs are a new feature that OpenAI just launched, where basically people can go through and create their own custom GPTs, and basically go through, add custom instructions, custom API calls, etc. to basically interface with certain apps, and basically work independently. So, let's hop right in. Alright guys, so just to get started, let's go ahead and first discuss what GPTs are. GPTs basically are this type of technology like I just discussed where you can create custom GPTs inside of just a ChatGPT website. There's now a GPT store where you can go ahead and upload these GPTs for other people to use, and they can basically be coded in with custom instructions where you can basically specify the tone. You can even code in certain commands and stuff like that for when the user maybe types a certain letter or something like that. You get a certain output just to help the user, like for example a guide on like how to use that specific GPT. You can also use custom actions, so this can go onto different APIs for applications such as research, education, productivity, connecting to different systems, etc. So these are very powerful and you do need to know about them. Alright guys, so to begin, let's go ahead and start by talking about how user data is handled and collected. Most of this information comes from OpenAI's general use policies, and basically how their data is collected within GPTs is that all GPTs data is collected and available to OpenAI, and OpenAI can go ahead and investigate GPTs for abuse and things like that. I do believe you do own the inputs and outputs, and I'm not sure if those are actually viewed by OpenAI themselves, though I do believe that they are used for training, and I do believe that OpenAI can conduct any investigations, and people can also report GPTs publicly if it's going ahead and causing any abuse or violating any terms of service. The exception to this is with enterprise plans. With enterprise plans that you might be building on for your clients, GPTs basically are kind of internal, and so they aren't actually available to the public, so they can't really be reported for abuse or anything like that unless they are available for the public, in which case people can go ahead and report them for abuse and they can be taken down. Alright guys, now going into user concerns about privacy in OpenAI and in GPTs, it's important to realize that basically every single prompt you put in, every single output, they can store all of that information and look through it for abuse and things like that, including documents you upload and any personal data in those documents as well. They also basically, guys, for this video, I've really read the whole like privacy policy, not like read it fully, but like skimmed through it, understood the main stuff, and basically they can use your personal data for basically anything, for promoting their own services. If they merge with another company or something like that, all your data can go to that. To law enforcement, they can give all your data. It's all basically open, right? And this is a big concern when building for businesses and stuff like that. As if you need very specific data to be kind of hidden and things like that within the business, you don't want it to be, available to OpenAI, to like Microsoft, to have all of this data about whatever business is, especially if Microsoft is maybe a competitor or something like that. That can be pretty concerning. The other thing is with HIPAA compliance. If you're building some sort of health application, if you're using the API, you can get different certifications from them to make sure that, with that API usage you're doing, they're complying with HIPAA compliance for your specific API usage, but you need to make sure you contact them and get that, as that's not standard across everything. So it's important to realize that user privacy is basically not there. There is a little bit more in enterprise accounts and stuff like that, but if you're using a normal account, OpenAI basically has everything. Alright guys, so now let's discuss the topic of security and data security. So OpenAI does have SOC type 2 compliance, and I believe in 2022 they were reviewed in I think they were reviewed in 2023 for 2022, and it found that throughout 2022 they received SOC Type 3 compliance. So it might just be called SOC 3 compliance. So your data is pretty secure. They do have all sorts of virus software and stuff like that on all their computers to make sure they don't get infected. They do have an open bug bounty program out right now, so people can go through and kind of pen test their software and see if there's any vulnerabilities and report it to them before malicious actors do, which you might want to take a look at. It's pretty cool. So they do have a lot of different compliance, and they do comply with all sorts of data security and data safety, so you don't have to really be worried about OpenAI going through any hacks and things like that, as they are pretty secure. Of course, everybody is vulnerable in some way, most likely, but we can see that user data is secure. Also, user data that's going through the API is not used to improve models and not used to train models by default, which is good to hear. And then with OpenAI's just normal website of chat.openai.com, those conversations are used to improve OpenAI's models unless you go ahead and turn off the chat history, which is how you can kind of choose what is used to improve ChatGPT and what is not. Alright guys, now let's get into the usage policies. So there are some interesting usage policies. One thing that did stick out to me with the GPT usage policies were that you can't create anything that subverts democratic processes, and you can't do things like discouraging voting or misrepresenting the democratic system. I'm not sure what that means. It seems a little politically affiliated and stuff like that. It seems kind of vague, like you're not allowed to undermine, democratic processes, but that is something that's there. You also can't, I believe, promote political campaigns and things like that. In addition to that, you can't create GPTs that target people under 13 years of age. Yet, I'm pretty sure one of the ChatGPT GPTs that they created is like for homework help for like small kids. But I don't know, I guess maybe it's like parents who are using it to help their kids, so it's not meant for the kids to use or something, so it's not targeting people under 13. But I don't know, some of the usage guidelines do seem pretty vague. If you're building for a company, then yeah, it's totally fine. You don't really have to worry about any of this stuff. But if you're building something for general use, you want stuff to go on the leaderboard and stuff like that, should probably just be careful and take a look at these different things. I don't think they honestly enforce them pretty heavily either, since they're kind of so vague, and it's like kind of weird to figure out what actually fits into those policies, what doesn't. It says stuff like the general policy, like you can't create anything that furthers the suffering of other people or something, which I'm like, okay, I mean, that's, kind of, it becomes subjective and it becomes kind of vague. But those are things you do need to know about if you're making public use GPTs. Alright guys, now let's go ahead and get into basically how this compares to industry standards. Basically, OpenAI's policy meets industry standards in every single aspect, and even exceeds it and actually goes above industry standards, right? So I'm guessing since now they're partnering with Microsoft and stuff like that, everything is very robust. There isn't really anything too crazy. There isn't anything too out of the norm in terms of like privacy and security measures. They meet everything, you can be sure basically that your data is safe and that your data follows their privacy standards, so this isn't necessarily private, but it does follow like, the standard industry privacy practices. There's nothing really out of the ordinary, there's nothing special there, so you can be pretty safe and secure in that, which is important to know, especially if you're building for companies, just to know that everything is certified, everything does go ahead and meet the industry requirements and industry standards as if you're using any other platform. Alright guys, now I'm going to go ahead and talk about your responsibilities as a user when interacting with these AI platforms. The first thing is that you need to make sure you're not submitting any sensitive information, as many times GPT reviewers actually go through and check to see if messages are meeting the expectations and the community guidelines, and actually personally humans go through and read those, so you never know. The next thing is that there's a lot of data breaches and bugs and stuff like that. There were bugs in the past where people's chat logs are getting leaked to random people, right? One time I actually had like a random chat log appear in my GPT a very long time ago, where it was like some random engineering question. I never asked it. I was confused. I was like, what is this? Why do I have this thread here? So, your stuff can get leaked at any time. Right? Maybe my stuff got leaked to someone, I don't know. So you have to always keep this stuff in mind when you're just submitting, financial reports of some company that you're working with and stuff like that, right? You never know where this stuff is going to get leaked. You never know if there's going to be a breach, right? Data breaches happen all the time now. You never know if your stuff is just going to get leaked out there. Another thing is that when you're submitting images of your face and stuff to AIs, maybe not as much with OpenAI, but just in general with other AIs that do all these, fun stuff, you never know where that stuff is going. You never know if your face is being uploaded somewhere in China, and not. I mean, I'm saying China, but even the U.S. like privacy is horrific here, and you never also know if they're just using that simply to train a model, and now someone else might generate an image that has some of your facial features or something like that, right? So, you always have to be aware of this stuff when you're chatting and submitting stuff to these companies. Alright guys, to end off the video, I want to go ahead and say that I think in terms of the future implications for this, I honestly think that this is going to get much worse in terms of privacy and safety unless we in the cybersecurity community and in the AI community go ahead and work our hardest to make sure that, Google and other companies like this have regulations put on them, and actually good regulations, not just like something trash that they can loophole like their own lobbying and stuff like that. And we come up with alternatives that are private and safe, right? Like now, for example, with search engines, we don't just rely on Google. We have, DuckDuckGo, right? For browsers, it's not just like the main market share is just Chrome, even though it basically still is just Chrome. You can go ahead and download stuff like Brave, right? Which is my daily driver on my desktop, right? So, you can go ahead and subvert most, spyware basically and stuff like that with, Linux, which I use and stuff like that. But you can't really subvert AI spyware and get the same results at this point at all. Right, so we need to come up with these alternatives. We really need to fight for privacy and stuff like that. In terms of businesses and agency owners, I think for you guys, there again also needs to be some sort of open source software, something that protects companies' information, because they don't want to put it all into some Microsoft thing, put it all into some Google thing, where who knows where the data is going, who knows if that data is private, who knows if that data is secure. I mean, even by reading the privacy policy, you really don't know. They kind of just do whatever they want, basically. So yeah, I mean, in this video, we basically went over everything from the privacy policies to how it stacks up with other competitors to what you can practically do to help your own privacy and safety. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Alright guys, an additional resource that you can go ahead and look at is this huge article by Routers, where they go ahead and provide a lot of good information here about AI privacy. In addition to this, I'll link all the OpenAI privacy policies and stuff like that down below if I remember. If not, you can just search it up and read it for yourself, and there's a lot of other good information. Please like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to go ahead and join my Discord to go ahead and talk with me and go ahead and talk with other members of the community, you can go ahead and do so. The link is in the description. If you want to reach out to me, my email is also in the description for you to go ahead and contact me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.